Hey everybody, it's Jacob Tucker here, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you the new access control system coming to Cadence 1.0 called Entitlements. So I'm going to split this video up into two parts. The first part is going to be how access control was handled in old, or at the time of this video, current Cadence using interfaces. And then the second part of this video is going to be using entitlements actually in Cadence 1.0. So if you are a current developer who wants to see the difference between the two, you can watch both portions. Or if you're just interested in entitlements, just go to the timestamp in the description. That will skip you right to the entitlements part of the video. So right now, I am going to start the first part of the video. So this is current Cadence. This is not 1.0, and entitlements do not exist here. So I'm going to show you how this is currently handled. So right now, we have this Hello World contract, and there is a resource inside of it called greeting. Now, this greeting, has a couple things in it. It has a greeting variable that we can initialize to Hello World or whatever we want, any string. And then it has a function called change greeting, and this allows you to pass in a new greeting, and then it will just change that greeting to whatever you pass in. So let's say that in this example, there's some sort of mechanism where we only want people to be able to read the greeting, but we do not want people to be able to call this function. So in other words, the public should be able to read the greeting variable, but the public should not be able to call the change greeting function. So what we would do is we would make an interface called maybe something like iGreeting, or a greeting public, some people like to call it. And we would simply just put the variable inside here, and we would extend, or we would make this greeting resource implement the interface. And so if we were to go to our example script here, you can see that inside of this script, we simply create the greeting resource, and this is the actual resource itself, right? And then this sort of shows you how access control is handled. So in this case, if we were to simply create, actually, you know what, let me increase the font here so you can probably see it much better this way. So this probably should be better. So again, we have the full resource here. And then let's say that we were to make a reference to that resource, right? So the reference has a type of hello world.greeting. We would be able to access the greeting, right? And we would be able to access the function to change the greeting, right? So we have full access. And this is because in old or current Cadence, types are based on their or access is based on the type. So in this case, because the type is a hello world.greeting, we have access to everything in that greeting resource, right? So we have access to it all. But if we wanted to restrict it, then we would make a reference where it is restricted to the iGreeting interface. And again, because access control is based on the type, we would be able to access the greeting variable because that is in the interface, but we would not be able to access change greeting function. So you could take this further, and let's say you had like an NFT collection, maybe your NFT collection would only have a deposit interface on it, where users could call the deposit function and maybe read the IDs of the NFTs in your collection, but they would not be able to call the withdraw function. And so if you were to store the collection in your storage, you would use the also old capability mechanism called linking, right? And just capabilities to link the restricted type to the public so that users couldn't withdraw, right? So this is a very simple example, but you could see how that, how this was done in old Cadence. So now I'm going to go into the new Cadence. So in order to do that, this is the new part of the entitlements part of the video. In order to actually do this, because Cadence 1.0 is not live yet, I'm going to install the Cadence 1.0 the emulator on my computer. So you will also have to do this. But yeah, so if you're watching this video at a point where Cadence 1.0 is already live, then you should be able to just install the regular emulator. But I'm going to link this in the description so you can see it. So I'm going to copy this command because I'm on Mac. I'm going to paste it in my terminal here, and this is just going to install the Cadence 1.0. And while I'm doing that, I'm also going to go ahead and copy some code. Don't worry about this. I will show you all this in a second. But this video is actually coming from a tutorial I wrote on Emerald Academy. So I will also link that in the description if you prefer to learn things in a more written way. You might find that more helpful as well. So I'm just going to wait for this to install. Okay, it looks like it has installed. So what I'm going to do is just close this out and reopen it so that the extension sort of picks up on the new changes. So here we go. So now we're in Cadence 1.0, right? And things are very different. So let me actually just start back from zero here, um, and just change this to access all like that. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cheat and have this on a different screen so I can make sure that I'm doing this right. Okay, so now we have a very similar contract, right, where we have a greeting resource and we want to make it so that the public can read the greeting, but they should not be able to call the change greeting function. So in this case, what we do is, again, interfaces are no longer a thing, or they are a thing, but they're not, access is not based on type anymore. So in this case, what we're going to do is make an entitlement and say access all entitlement change greeting. So we just declared a new entitlement, which is basically like a new form of access. And what we're going to say is instead of access all, we'll just say access change greeting. So it actually may seem a bit strange at first if you're used to old Cadence, but if you kind of look at it, it's really nice, right? Because we don't have to declare a new interface and whatever, but we can simply just declare a new entitlement and say that this change greeting function needs this entitlement in order to access it. And I'll show you how entitlements are granted. So if we go to the script again, it's the exact same as the one before, so you can kind of see the difference. You can see here that we create the greeting, and then in order to have full access, what we need to do is we need to get a reference to G. And just as a side note, you can see that we no longer need to say like as the type. If you simply specify the type here, it will automatically cast it to that, which is really nice. But you can see that we declare that this has an authorized, this is an authorized reference with hello world that change greetings. You can almost imagine entitlements or this little auth keyword as like a key card that you put into a lock that gives you access to something. So this is like a key that we're basically giving to our reference to say, oh, you know what, you can actually access any function that has access change greeting on it, which is awesome. So in this case, this has full access now. We can log the greeting, and we can also call change greeting here, which is great, right? But in the restricted case, you can see that what used to look like, what gives you full access now is actually restricted because this greeting reference does not have the authorized reference, or the entitled reference, whatever you want to call it, to change greeting. So we can read the greeting because that has access all, but we cannot change the greeting. So what's actually really interesting here is that we could go back to our contract, and for all you old Cadence people, we could say access all resource interface iGreeting. And we could say, you know what, this is a interface that any greeting resource can implement, and if you want to implement it, you have to have this greeting variable here, and we could put make sure that our specific greeting implements that resource interface, and we could go back to our script and say, you know what, this actually initially has type hello world.iGreeting, right, like this. And of course, we won't be able to call this function right now because change greeting is not in that interface type. But we could easily just say, you know what, let's cast this reference and say as a authorized reference hello world.change greeting reference to hello world.greeting, like this. And so what's interesting here is that in old Cadence, this would never be possible, right? Because access control is based on types. And so if you had a restricted type like this, you would never be able to cast it to something greater that gives you more access. But in this case, because our reference has an authorized reference to the change greeting, it doesn't matter if you're casting to a different type right here because access control is no longer based on the type. It's based on the entitlement. So you can easily cast this, and this script would work totally fine. Now, of course, like in this example, there's no reason why we would do it this way, but let's say you had this type, like you had a non-fungible token dot receiver, you could cast that to a non-fungible token dot collection. Now, if you don't know what I mean, that's totally okay. You can dive into Cadence more on your own, but just for some of you Cadence experts out there. So I hope this makes sense. I hope this gives you sort of like a beginner look at entitlements. And again, if you want to sort of see, written version of this, you can totally go to the link in the description, and that might be helpful too. So anyways, have a good one, and enjoy your night or day or whatever you're doing. All right, peace out.